Oh, hospital. How did I get here?
Ah, good. You're awake. You look awful.
Tucker?
Who else?
How?
You called. Don't try to think. Your head's damaged enough.
Yeah, that's... Yeah, I remember. Are you okay? Did they try to stop you?
Whoa, 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 whoa. Lay back down. There was no they. I'm fine.
What's happening? It isn't... I need to...
Slow down. It's okay. You're okay. Well, okay-ish.
I'm sorry. I thought I was dead.
What's going on, man? Why are we doing a reunion like this?
You're the first person I thought of. You're usually... Are you smoking in a hospital?
Yeah, I'm calming the nerves. What, couldn't call anyone from the SID? No chums there?
I might have pulled rank a bit. Went off to do something while the others were asleep. Doubt they're happy.
So you're in trouble.
Well, yes.
You going against orders?
It's been a rough year.
Couple years. Anyway, you called me? Still feel stupid.
I needed someone I could trust not to talk. I'm on a case. It's important.
Lips are sealed. What am I a part of now?
A part of?
Of course. Whatever you're doing made you look like, that. Exciting.
Exciting? This is serious. Wait. Where am I?
Brought you to the hospital, man.
Which hospital?
Rockford. Closest to...
We gotta leave.
Slow down. You're in no shape to...
I can't be here. Help me.
But you...
Please. No time. Just trust me.
Fine. Yeah. Hold still. Gotta get this IV. There you go.
Great. Did you happen to grab my recorder?
Nah, just you, clothes, and your phone. There was a notebook in your jacket, but I didn't see a recorder. Could have wasted more time looking for it if you really wanted me to.
Doesn't matter. Just gonna have to use the phone then. Help me up.
Rightio.
Thanks. Where to?
There's a back way that doesn't have cameras or personnel.
You still stake out buildings.
I like to know how to escape conversations.
Missed you, man.
Yeah. Be sappy in the car. Let's go.
Welcome to the Beating Heartland, created by Denver Baughman.
Episode 23, The Zoo. Where are we heading?
My place. Chicago.
Oh,
Problem with that? I can put you back in the hospital. You're not doing anything for a couple of days except sleep on my guest bed, eat, and watch awful TV.
I don't have that kind of time.
What the crap is going on, man?
You were one of the few that believed me when Cynthia went missing and my wife...
That was nothing, man. I know you. If you saw something, you saw it.
I almost went to jail.
Self-defense. Signs of a break-in. You weren't to blame.
Yeah, but what I said... I know they still want to put me away. SID wants to keep me quiet. And now this. I don't know if I'm making it out of this one.
But you're still doing it.
Yes.
Then I believe you. And I'm helping.
Something happened to you. The guys would talk about it. Call you a live wire. Had screws loose that you wanted to talk about things. Conspiracies. Monsters.
Don't want to talk about it.
But you've seen the things I've seen. Most of SID thinks it's all pointless. But you know what's out there.
What's happening?
It started with a murder.
Doesn't it always?
Yeah, well, we wouldn't have been called in except the suspect sent us info a few months back. He'd been investigating things in Illinois. Monsters, ghosts, bad crap. He's connected to it. We pushed our way into the investigation. The rest of the department didn't want to bother, said it was a false alarm from a psychopath. But certain things seemed familiar. Investigating took forever. He didn't realize the time was passing, and his memory was scattered. Most people in this state seem to be like that. Forgetful. We discovered spiking intense emotions helped keep him on track. Are you sure you want to hear this? It's going to take a while.
We got time.
This isn't like our other cases.
Perfect. Start from the beginning. Right. And Denver's...
I don't know where he is.
You wanted him to find the words?
No. I wanted to.
But not for answers.
I know what I need to know. I know the words, or whatever their name is, took my daughter and killed my wife. And then there's the cult.
So Denver was...
My way to them. The words. They were pulling on him, guiding him there to kill him, or... I don't know, I took a risk. It didn't work.
Do you think the words killed him, or he killed them?
I don't know which is better. I don't understand him, or his part in this. I doubt he killed them.
So, what happened after that thing knocked you out?
The first bit's fuzzy. I remember coming to briefly, and it was carrying me. It moved far faster than it should have been able to. It carried me like I weighed nothing. Mainly looked human, but wrong. The teeth were sharp, the pupils were slit, and its limbs were too long. The muscles taut like rope. From a distance, it probably would pass as a lanky human, but up close... Ugh. It was talking to itself. I think it was complaining. I don't know. Couldn't concentrate. The voice was low, like a lion's growl. Body immediately on edge. Then it dropped me. It lowered down so its face was inches from mine. I could feel its breath, hot and smelling of raw meat. Why are we worried about you? You don't look special. Slobber dripped from its fangs as its eyes contracted. Claw-like hands reached for my throat. I thought of Denver's description of a monster he'd encountered in a cornfield, where he found the burned bodies. This was similar. It trembled as tufts of fur sprouted on its arms and face. Long fingers closed around my neck. Its face inched closer. Then, after a growl, it released me and stood. Glared and picked me back up with a grunt. Why do I listen to them? About that time, everything went dark again.
So, it's a werewolf.
Something like that. Yeah. But that feels too easy. The next thing I remember, I'm in a cage and hear chittering around me. It took time to focus. It was dark, but I noticed the cold metal bars surrounding me. I sat up, my body ached, and I could feel a cold wet on my forehead, which, after quick inspection, I realized was blood. Eyes stared at me from beyond the bars, glowing white in the dark. My eyes adjusted, and I saw animals staring back. There were monkeys, a couple of tigers, a few wolves, horses, I could go on. They all stared unblinking at me. Hunger in their eyes. The tigers growled, and I shuffled back. The cold cage bars pressed behind, and I heard another growl. I turned, and there was a grizzly bear, malnourished with patchy fur. Its eyes were wide, and it had the same look of need I saw on the werewolf's face standing over me. I moved back to the middle of the cage and tried to sit still. The animals watched, and I sat like this for an eternity. Some got bored and began fighting. I watched as a group of chimpanzees beat a smaller one to death, seemingly because it was hoarding a leaf that it had munched on. My head swam, drying blood plastered my hair and skin. I had no plan, no idea what was going on, and no clue how long I was going to be alive. Something about the animals felt off. It wasn't just their starvation. I couldn't place it. my thoughts were interrupted by a warm light as a door opened. Silhouettes appeared. One standing tall and straight, another with long limbs and a hunched posture, and one who seemed to be wearing a long coat. The door closed and overhead lights flickered to life. The animals immediately went crazy. They pushed, bit, howled, and screeched. It sounded almost like women screaming. The tall man walked towards the cage. The other two stayed back. The long-limbed one, I recognized as the werewolf, seemed dejected, posture like a dog in trouble. The ceiling lights obscured the tall man's face as I looked up, but then he leaned down, and I saw the scars. Every inch of his face was scratched. The left eye was dead and pale, several scars grooved into the skin. He smiled, the edges of his lips split and cracked. The teeth were perfect.
A pleasure to have another fine specimen to add to my collection.
I didn't reply. He waited, cracked smile faltering after a few seconds of silence. He cleared his throat.
It's been some time since I've been able to work on one like you, Denver. But Summers here says you'll be quite up for it. It seems like you two know each other.
Ah. They didn't want you.
No. I realized in that moment the werewolf, had grabbed the wrong person. At first, I didn't say anything. Wasn't keen on whatever work he was talking about. But I took a gamble that them thinking I was Denver was keeping me alive.
Why's that?
Because Summers and others kept saying they couldn't kill him yet. It was part of the greater purpose.
Vague?
Really? Didn't notice that.
It work?
No. Before long, let's call him zookeeper, said,
You've been a nuisance, haven't you? Summers talks about you often. You've become a pet project for him. Something about you researching us? I'm flattered. I don't get much press, and my work is often deemed... What's the word? Unsavory,
Summers replied from the back. The voice was raspy and low, almost exactly how Denver had imitated it.
Yes. Also killing, well, I wouldn't go that far. Harming one of us. That's just bad form. Why do a thing like that? Makes them much more willing to let me have my way with you. Have you had proper time to admire my work?
He gestured with pride to the animals. The bear leaped forward, causing our cages to lurch as it shoved its body against the bars. I screamed and tried to stifle it. What was... Summers rushed towards my cage and leaned against the bars. He looked older than I'd thought.
You're not...
He spun and looked at the werewolf.
You stupid animal.
Much faster than I'd expected, Summers lunged towards the werewolf and grabbed him by the scruff. What? I did what you...
That's not Denver.
What? How? Who else could have been in the caves looking for... Summers silenced it with a choke.
You can't do anything right. If we fall apart, it's your fault.
So what? We got someone else. He was also too close. Maybe you were wrong.
No. The only way Denver has gotten this far is with them. They are making people remember. But you didn't want to listen to me. You know what happened last time they had someone.
He directed this at the zookeeper, who was smiling. He seemed relaxed, like this was perfectly normal.
So what?
You're both so dumb. If they remember, they can...
If they remember, they can do nothing about it. Not anymore.
The fear will dilute. Father won't like that.
You've always been the paranoid one. The scared one. That's the public's job. Father won't let anything happen.
Yeah, they'd love to spend that much energy. If it wasn't for me... Forget it. Do what you want with that. He gestured to me and then dragged the werewolf towards the door. You are going out there and finding him. I have 10 bodies from Doc, and I'm not afraid to burn through those to torture you. If they talked to Denver... The doors closed behind, and I heard the muffled sound of a pained, dog-like howl. The animals had been silent during the argument. The zookeeper turned toward me, split lips beaming.
Sorry. Family tiff. It happens all the time. So, you're not Denver.
His smile grew. I sat there, head pounding as he leaned closer.
Which means I can do whatever I want to you.
My body shook as I tried to talk, but I was so thirsty and in pain that only a small moan escaped. The zookeeper chuckled.
Oh, poor... What is your name, anyway? You smell familiar. I bet you feel silly getting caught up in all of this. Don't worry. We'll make you feel brand new.
Things grow fuzzy after that.
What did he do to you?
I mostly remember the pain. There are quick snapshots, my body on a cold table, strange tools beside me, the smiling face of the zookeeper as he examined every inch of my body. Then the work began. These stitches.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. I don't know what he did, but I know he took things out. Important parts. I should be dead.
So he's like the doctor?
No. He had no interest in controlling me. He just wanted my parts.
Why on...
The animals were hybrids.
Crap.
I noticed it in some of their eyes. Human eyes. Some had human teeth, others hands. Not regular human hands snapped into place, but furry and deformed, difficult to notice in the dark if your brain isn't working. Little things like that were wrong. The bear next to my cage would speak. Not words, but I'm sure the vocal cords were human. I remember being wheeled through a corridor. Jars lined the walls. Body parts floated inside, many I recognized from autopsies. Others seemed foreign, changed, seized. Then there were large glass tanks filled with liquid. Inside them, monstrosities. Creatures that made no sense. They were completely removed from anything I'd ever seen. Mixes of dozens of animals, humans, and other things. I remember the zookeeper gloating while I was half-conscious. He was petting my head.
Humans are boring. That's Doc's problem. Not enough imagination. But these are true artistry. They inspire real fear.
The pain overtook me. Flashes of torture and experimentation accompanied by stabbing, wrenching, pulling, kneading pain that wouldn't stop. At one point, I don't know, this could have been a feverish hallucination, but I thought I was in one of the tanks, surrounded by several creatures. Another time I saw myself in a large room, a singular light illuminating a circle patch. Inside, I saw dozens of me, pained and limping in various stages of experimentation and monstrosity. This one had to be a nightmare. But there was no difference between nightmare and waking. This could have lasted years. It was only a little less than 2 days. Doesn't make sense. There was a lifetime of torture in that.
Take your time. You don't need to go into detail.
I do. I can't keep it in.
So, what the crap happened? When I found you, you were alone, the place was trashed, no one was there.
Cynthia.
You saw... Was this another nightmare?
No. This was real. It had to be. At one point I woke up and was alone, strapped to the table, unable to move. I was numb. There wasn't any pain, and she was there.
Cynthia.
Yes. She stood beside the table, head barely above it. She stared at me with her little smile. Such a relief after his. I tried to talk to her. I wanted to hug her. Couldn't do either. I could only muster a... She giggled. The noise sounded distant, echoey, like at the end of a tunnel. It was wonderful.
How was Cynthia there?
I don't know. But she was. She leaned in and kissed my cheek. And I heard, quiet and distant, "I love you." I felt tears pool, but I couldn't even blink. She was so gentle and quiet, but in the way she had, where her energy was waiting to burst back out and do anything, everything. "Love you," I managed. She beamed, showing her teeth, and they were different. And I noticed her hands were scaly and changed. Minor differences most people wouldn't notice, but I'd thought about that face and those hands every day.
But the words took her, not the cult.
Yes, maybe, but she was there. She freed me. She released my bonds. It took her some time, but she worked on the knots that kept me down. And then, without success, she tried to pull me off the table. She looked at me, eyes pleading for help, and I found strength. With effort, I sat shakily and slid off the table. My legs were almost entirely numb, but I was able to stand. Nothing felt real. My surroundings twisted and lurched, but Cynthia stood beside me and raised a deformed hand. I took it, and a burden seemed to lift from my mind. Her hand was different, but it was hers. We walked one shaky step at a time. The entire time I was terrified the zookeeper would show up and torture me again. But he didn't. Cynthia lightly guided me. She didn't say anything. There was a focus on her face I'd never seen. She was different. Not just her body. When she looked at me, she knew who I was, but not much else. I think her memories were gone, or fuzzy. But she knew she loved me. I don't know exactly how she got here, but as we walked, we passed a cage. The door was open, and inside I saw a body lying on the ground. Something metal sticking out of its chest. It was Greg, the creature that had been in the lake house. Its skin was melting off its body like water. It had died just a few minutes prior. Cynthia just stared at it, emotionless. She looked back at me and said, "Bad." I nodded. "Yes." She said, "They found us, took the book, liked us, took us, did things."
What are the odds?
This wasn't an accident. She looked ahead of us and pointed. "Help." Ahead were all the caged animals. Most were sleeping, but some looked up with their pale, glowing eyes. They didn't make a noise. "Help." She let go of my hand and walked up to a cage. The raccoon thing inside nudged closer to the bars, and Cynthia placed a hand on its head. "Help." Her voice trembled, and I helped.
You opened the cages.
Yes.
Well, that explains the mess.
The animals didn't attack. Something in their brains knew I wasn't a threat. I was the one freeing them. Some didn't want to leave at first. They sat in their cages and shivered, scared of what would happen to them. But eventually they all left their cages. Some left through open doors, while others waited, not sure of the way out. After I'd opened every cage, I looked around, and Cynthia stood at the edge of the room next to a door I'd never noticed. As I stepped closer, I felt something. Somehow, whatever was inside, I could feel. Cynthia glanced at me. She didn't have to say it, but I didn't want to. She stared with those strange eyes. She wasn't my daughter anymore. Most of her was gone. But the bit of her left. The stupid, the incredible, the kind. Wanted them all free. I opened the door. Inside, The body was almost completely hidden under a mass of human and animal limbs, tangled and oddly shaped. The limbs shifted as two heads peered out of the tangle. The skin was pale and looked human. It was stretched over a bear-like snout. The eyes were pure white, and both heads moved independently. It was too bizarre to even find scary.
What is the meaning of this?
I spun. The zookeeper stood at the other side of the room. There was pandemonium. The animals bolted in any direction they could. The noise was deafening as they erupted into sound and panic. The zookeeper looked around in disbelief, then his eyes settled on Cynthia and me. He smiled wide, the scars on his lips cracked, and blood seeped out.
Oh, I see. You know each other. I thought you smelled familiar. The words have a sense of humor, I'll grant them.
I didn't hear the last bit as the tangle of limbs had sprung to life with an awful howl. I screamed and collapsed to the ground. The creature rushed past, the limbs propelling it almost faster than I could register. The zookeeper's eyes widened as the thing reached out with several arms and grabbed him, lifting him off the ground. The zookeeper laughed the entire time. I shut my eyes and heard a sickening pop. The laughing stopped. I lay there, eyes closed, as all the noises faded away into the distance. The last thing I felt was a small body leaning against me. Cynthia placed a hand on my back, and I wish I could have opened my eyes or moved.
Thank you.
She walked away. Time passed, and I was able to force myself to move again. The building was destroyed, and the animals and creatures all gone.
How'd you call me?
My phone was on the zookeeper. His body, well, it wasn't in one piece, but my phone was in the pocket. I was conscious enough to look at my location and call you. Don't know what I said to you, but I passed out soon after. Then I woke in the hospital.
Philip, there wasn't a body when I got to you. The building was trashed, but no corpse.
Great.
This... I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
What now?
I don't know. I don't know how to find Denver. I don't know how to find out more about the cult. I'm just happy to be alive.
Well, we're here. Need help getting out?
I can do... Yeah, probably.
All right. One sec. Come on in. It's a dump, but it's comfortable.
Oh, sorry. It's great.
You're a bad liar, man.
Well, thanks for doing this. Really.
Nope. No sappy.
Are you doing okay?
Never better. Why?
It's just... Your place never looked... What's that?
Ah, the wall. Yeah, well, no use in hiding it. I've been suspended.
What?
It's nothing. I got carried away.
How?
Don't look at me like that. I'm fine now.
Clearly.
I'm fine. I'm focused. I have to stay focused.
Is that what this is?
Yeah. Been working on it in my free time. Which is all the time.
No. That's... No.
Yep. The Chicago cult is back.
How?
It's a lot. But I know they're back.
What's that?
Thought you'd clock that. Burned bodies.
You're kidding.
As I said, I'm a part of your stuff now. Get some rest. There's a lot to talk about later.
The Beating Heartland was written by Denver Baughman. If you enjoyed the show, please rate and review us on whatever streaming platform you are using. Follow us online at The Beating Heartland Thank you for listening.